All right. We are live. What's up, everybody? Tim Conley here, and we are going to talk about bad clients, those nightmare clients, those people you just wish would go away, but you kind of want to keep their money. So we're going to talk about how to deal with problem clients, make sure that we don't lose money in the process, or that if we do lose these clients, we make more money afterwards. And we're going to get into all that. But first, come on, everybody who is on watching, just comment in, hit the comments. Let me know where you're coming from, where you're watching. And if you got questions about clients, go ahead and pop them in. So a little update from last week when it went live. This is day one of my personal 100-day challenge. So the thing, for those who didn't see last week, what I have challenged myself with is for the next 100 days, I'm going to work on 3 goals until my 50th birthday, which is 100 days, 100 days from now, 99 starting tomorrow, right? So we're going to work on our goals. I'm hoping you join me, but my goals are, I have a health goal, a wealth goal, and a wisdom goal. So this morning I did 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, and 300 squats. And I did, for my wisdom, I did a 30-minute training on how to draw. I have not been an artist or even designer for a very, very long time. And so I started with the basics, except this time, instead of drawing on paper, I am drawing on my iPad with Procreate. So not only do I have to learn how to draw again, I also have to learn how to use Procreate. So that's going to be kind of fun too. So the reason I say that that's a wisdom thing, it's about giving myself the ability to do self-expression. Instead of just focus on work, focus on teaching and training all the time and helping other people grow their businesses, I'd like to have something that's just for me, that's completely personal. Probably never share any of my drawings with anyone in the entire world. Maybe on day 100, maybe I share something on here that I've drawn. Maybe you show day 1 and the scribbles that I did today in my lesson and my day 100 lesson and see what kind of difference I have. Maybe I'll show that. But then I have my wealth goal. So the wealth that I'm working on, I set a goal. It's arbitrary, just because it sounded good. Literally, that's it. It was $100,000 in 100 days. And so step 1 for day 1 of my wealth goal is to get all y'all to come over and join my Facebook group, where I'm going to be teaching all my secrets. Every week, I'm going to do something just for that group where I'm training on what I call a nimble agency. So whether you're a freelancer, a solopreneur, or an agency owner, if you've got a small agency and you want to stay small but extremely profitable, then that group's going to be for you. And so to go there and apply to be a member of that group, go to facebook.com/groups. Yeah, it's groups/nimble group. I can't even spell. NIMBLEGROUP. Nimble group. Go join. I've got some people who are already asked last week to be members. I'm leaving you there waiting. I'm going to do I'm going to do the first approvals this weekend. So go if you're interested in learning just anything that I've got to teach about how to run a small but extremely profitable agency or even solopreneur for a digital marketing company or designer, a creative business, go there and apply. Cool. That's all the commercials. That's all the commercials I got going on. So we got Chris coming in from Colorado. What's up, Chris from Colorado? Thanks for coming in. I see we've got a few other people watching. Please comment and let me know you're there. Ask your questions about how to deal with clients. And also, while you're on, hit that like button. Let's tackle that YouTube algorithm and get some of these trainings out to other people. Okay, let's get into nightmare clients. I know y'all have had them. I've had them. I've had a lot of them. A lot of my clients have had some really bad ones. I've never been sued. I've been threatened to be sued. So that's good. Like I call that a win, like just being threatened and never actually getting sued. But I've had some of my clients get sued. I've even had some of my clients sue their clients. So I've seen a lot of turmoil in the whole client relationship game. And so we're going to get into that. But again, hit those comments. Let me know what is going on in your business and what you're trying to accomplish and what kind of problems, challenges you're running into with your clients. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, but Dreggy, D, hey Tim, glad to see you. Glad that you're here. Glad you're popping in and watching. So let's go. Okay, so you answer the phone, and nobody answers the phone these days, but you answer the phone because it rang, and then it rang again, and then it rang again, and you're like, oh, maybe I'll just pick it up. And you pick it up, and immediately all you hear is yelling, and it's Angry Andy. Angry Andy is the client who just starts off yelling at you. You did something wrong, or your team did something incredibly wrong, and they are furious. Angry Andy is so mad, and you can't even respond because there's just so much yelling. I don't know if you've had it that extreme. I have. I've had some just incredibly irate people, and it usually turns out that it wasn't really a big deal. Sometimes it was on their end, and then they end up apologizing for all that yelling and screaming. But this is something that we don't allow. We don't allow our clients to abuse us, and we definitely don't let our clients abuse our team. Never let them do that. And we'll talk about another type of client that is a nightmare client about your team in a little bit. But when Angry Andy is yelling at you, the first thing you have to do is let your client know you hear them. Okay, most people get really defensive. So you've got to make sure you do not start pushing back on your client, especially when your client is wrong. Even if you don't want to do business with this person anymore because they're a yeller, they're abusive, you just don't want to ever work with them again. You don't want to cause future problems. So the first thing you do is make sure that they know you hear them. And the best way of doing this is to apologize. I'm sorry that this is happening to you, right? We don't acknowledge exactly what this thing is. We don't acknowledge that we did any mistakes. So we then we say we're sorry. Then we go into the problem without taking. We have to take. Let me rephrase this. We have to take responsibility for the problem, even if it's an imaginary problem that Angry Andy is facing, and we have to do so without admitting that we did something wrong, even if we actually did that thing wrong. And I'm not saying we're doing this to lie. What we're doing is we're de-escalating. And then we're able to actually get into the problem, because if you admit that you did something wrong, you screwed up a file and it ruined something, you accidentally deleted a piece of a plugin and it crashed their WordPress site, you did something, right? If you admit to it, now we can't actually discuss it, because now more accusations will keep coming from that client. They will just keep attacking you, hitting you over and over again, okay? And then there's nowhere to go for you to help them. And that's what we're actually after with every one of our clients in that relationship, is making sure that we can help. And so what we do is we apologize, and then we take responsibility without admitting fault to that specific problem. We admit fault that something went wrong, but we don't admit our fault in that thing we're being accused of. Because then afterwards, Angry Andy is going to calm down. And then you can go, okay, let's dive into that. Let's find out what actually went wrong. Let's figure out where this thing broke. What kind of process did I have that allowed this thing to break? And then you can be a sleuth together with Angry Andy, because Andy's a little more reasonable now. And then you can find out what the real issue is and then address that. Maybe you truly are 100% at fault. But if you let Angry Andy stay angry, then you'll never get to being able to make it right. And that's where we're at. That's what we're after whenever we have this abusive client come in. And sometimes they become great clients after that, because they realize you listen, you take responsibility, and you solve the problem. If you do those things with all your clients, then you're going to have clients that will trust you more, and you'll make far more money with that particular client, and a lot of times get referrals because of the fact that you solved Angry Andy's problem. Does that make sense? Because I've got a couple more, but I just want to make sure that makes sense. So those watching, come on, comment in here. Let me know that I'm not just rambling, and I'm actually giving you something that's very useful if you faced this issue before, or if you think you might face it. But I want to talk about one other part after the fact that you've gotten abused. Calm down. Now you let Andy know we do not actually condone this kind of behavior. We do not allow yelling. We will never yell at them. We ask to be respected and not yelled at us. Trust us that we will do our best to solve your problem without you needing to get yourself so worked up that you're yelling and screaming and angry. And then you get that client to agree to it. If they say, yep, that's cool, I'm all in, then you can stay with that client. If not, you solve their problem, and then you exit. You use your exit clause in your contract to no longer do business with that client, because if they're abusive now, they'll be abusive again in the future unless you can get commitment from them and admit that they need to not behave like that. If you can't get that to happen, they're going to do it all into the future. So that is very critical, because it's not just dealing with this one client. It needs to be a policy for your business. This is how we handle abusive clients. This is how we handle nightmare clients. We apologize, we take responsibility, we solve the problem, and then we get them to understand the rules that you cannot be abusive to me or my team. And that is going to improve most of your client relationships, and you'll make far more money from it. But every so often, you're going to have to let those people go that will not change. They will be abusive again in the future. All right. Let's see. We've got quite a few people on. Let's get some people commenting and asking questions about any client issues, or if you want to deviate from client issues, let's treat this like office hours. Ask Tim Conley anything, kind of thing. It says my internet's been unstable. Let me know if I've been coming through clear and you can hear me and all that. Let me know if somebody could just chime in and make sure that I'm coming through, or I should switch internet service providers. I have 2 internet service providers because I'm out here, not because I'm cool, because I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, and usually one's working and the other one's not. All right, so let's see. Hey, Tim, first time watching live, how to deal with a client that doesn't respect the strategy that he agreed at the beginning of our project. That's a great question. I don't even have a name for that. It'd be like Doubting Dan or something, where Dan agreed to something and now he's like, I'm not too sure this is going to be the right way to go. There's multiple ways of handling this. One is to be dogmatic and say, no, we're doing this strategy. The other is the better way is to find out, well, why do they want to make changes? What happened in their business that they want to make changes from this strategy? Just ask that question. What changed in the business for me to change this strategy? Did some new data that I need to know to be able to alter the strategy, did anything change? And if they say yes, make them be specific. Well, what specifically changed? How did it change? When did it change? What were the ramifications of these changes? Get them to really dive into it, because sometimes it doesn't actually affect the strategy at all. They just feel that it does, that they feel like I got to go in a completely different direction because of a feeling, or worse, they watch some guru on the internet with long hair and a Billy Goat beard, and he said, do this other thing, and then your client comes and says, no, you got to change because I watched this crazy dude on the internet. You've got to be able to dive in and find out why. Why are we making this change? And then if there really is legitimate changes that have occurred, well, then you alter the strategy. Because strategies, or as Mike Tyson is supposedly have said, is everybody has a plan going into the ring until they get punched in the face. That's what happens. You make a plan and then you go out into the real world and then you get punched in the face. So then when that happens, you have to be able to alter your strategy based upon new data. But if the data that comes in isn't actually new, or it's just a feeling, then you get the client to agree to, let's just try it out for a while. Let's just keep going down this path just for a little while longer, so that we don't get off into the weeds and not be able to deliver on the promises made. Cool? Hopefully that was helpful. All right. Cool. All right, Chris, an issue I face from time to time is when I sell a website project and then the client adds more work than spoke about. Oh my gosh, that's not just sometimes, it's like every time. Everybody goes through that one. Scope creep, man. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we'll get into any tips on the balance between constant changes, agreed work, and unspoken needs. Okay, one of the biggest issues with scope of work is scope of work changes. Sometimes as you get into a project, a website, you get into it and things do change. Strategy changes. So something changes during the project, and you have to have something in your contract, your scope of work agreement. You have to have something in it that says, hey, we have this way of making changes. But when somebody says, hey, I know you're working on the website, but could you just make this one other page? Could you just make this one other landing page? And you have in your scope of work a clause on additional pieces of work. And you say, okay, great, we can do that. It may extend our timeline. It may make, we may have to put some other things on hold, but according to our agreement, we'll have an additional fee at maybe an hourly rate that was agreed upon. So maybe you do it based upon not as a page or any particular type of work, because you don't know what kind of favor they're going to ask of you. So then you have an hourly rate, and then you bring up that clause and you say, okay, is that cool? Do you want us to move forward because it falls under this? And they're like, oh yeah, but it's only going to take you a minute. It's only going to take you 15 minutes, and you're going to charge me $150 an hour, and it's only going to take you 15 minutes. It's like, well, no, it won't take just 15 minutes. It'll take longer. It'll take more to actually give you exactly what you're after, because you're adding to the scope. It's changing our work processes. So there's a lot more involved. Do you want to move forward with this, or do you want to wait until the end of the project and then we'll deal with it? And that's one of the best ways of handling it. The other is to make sure your website project is broken into phases. So you have the very first part that you work on, which is strategy, scoping the project. You do all the thinking up front, and you get a lot of agreements up front. Then you move into your next phase, which would be getting agreement on like mood boards, or as Chris Doe from The Future calls them, stylescapes, where you start getting buy-in on what the direction that you're going, and then you have your a third phase where you start building, and maybe it's wireframing or something like that. And then you go into your fourth phase, and then you go into your fifth phase, and so that along the way you're always getting agreement. There's no surprises between you and the client. And then if they're ever asking for additional work, it may be something that you can give them without charging them money for in the next phase. Oh, in that other phase, when we're working on that thing, we can throw it in for free. But we're going to let you know, it's going to get written into our agreement that this is going to happen. And we'll do it at no additional charge, because it will be doing something similar in that phase. Hopefully that's helpful. Cool? Does that make sense? Let me know. All right. Let's see. Scroll back up, see what other comments came in. Simon, greetings from Germany. Guten Tag. Or actually, what's the evening? I forgot. I haven't spoken any German in like 30 years, so I can't remember. I cannot remember evening. Sorry. I'm American. I speak half a language. I speak American, not English. So, all right. Let's keep scrolling. I am a dork for all those who are new here. I am not all there. All right. Tiago, just a comment. I loved how you moved me away from agency work and focus on what I love. Despite your channel being about agency work, such a boss. It's all about mindset, really. Yeah. So Tiago, like this channel's like, I focus on agency stuff because about 80% of all of my clients are agencies. They just started coming to me over like the last 5 years or so. And they started dominating all my consulting work and consulting and coaching work. So that's what I was doing here, was to just focus the channel. In season 3, which is coming up, I will be entering my 3rd year of this channel, and we're going to be focusing a lot more on mindset. We're going to start focusing more on leadership and other elements of what I actually do for my clients, not just speaking about like solving agency issues, but like bigger issues about running a business, because that's what I really do for a living, is fix businesses. So when somebody comes to me and they say, I'm trying to do this thing and the solution is this thing over here, I'm not going to say, oh, you need to stick with being an agency that you came to me for. I'm going to actually send you where you need to go to solve your problem. Cool. All right. Stellar Sarah is stellar. Sometimes clients think results will be immediate. Managing expectations can be hard when people don't fully understand all the nuts and bolts. That's great. Great. I'm like, that's a dumb way of saying it. The stellar question. So the issue here is that, one, expectations have to be set during the when you're doing your discovery call, set expectations. When you're going through scope of work, set expectations. When you're signing contracts, you set expectations over and over and over again. Most agencies, most solopreneurs and freelancers don't over communicate. Most of the time they get the job and then they disappear and they just work on the job. And then they show up and like, ta-da, I finished all this work. And then the client's like, I don't like it. Or you're working and working and working, and they say, well, where are you? Why isn't this done? I thought we were going to be done by now. So then when you're setting expectations, one of the things that should be in your proposal or your contract, or probably both, is a timeline, an estimated timeline. Like I was saying earlier with the website example, is you make phases. Every project has phases. Even if it's something that's relatively simple, we're going to define what I'm going to do for you. That's phase one. I'm going to do it for you. And then phase three, I'm going to give it to you. It could be even something as simple as that. But you can let them know timelines ahead of time. And then they can go, oh, I get it. And then if anything changes during the course of the project, you have to over communicate it. Not just go, hey, it's going to be another 2 weeks. No, you over communicate. Why is it going to be another 2 weeks? Get really into all the details. So a client is never surprised. They're never surprised that there's going to be a 2-week delay. They're never surprised that you've run into any problems or anything like that. They're never surprised. They should never come to you asking, where's the work? Because they should already know where the work is, what phase they're in. And the only way to do that is through over communication. Hopefully that's helpful. Let's see, scope creep. All right, how long should Dredgy D, DD, how long should it take from an agency to scale from 0 to 6, even 7 figures in 2021, assuming you have some expertise, can delegate the work, and sell the services? All right, that's math. So here's the answer. Mathematically, it's very definable. Humans don't follow math. One person, I've seen some people generate $3 million in less than 3 years with their agency. Just getting started, they had experience, they knew how to do what the thing that they were doing, so they didn't come into it a complete noob, but they'd never run an agency before. They just knew how to do the thing that they were selling, and they enter the space, and in under a year hit 3 million in revenue. That is a possibility, but they worked insane hours. I'm talking insane, from very early in the morning to late at night, and then doing it all over again, because not only are they selling and delegating and all that, they're hiring, they're firing, they're finding new vendors, they're dealing with the clients, they're doing all this stuff, and they're training everyone that they're hiring. So some people are capable of doing that almost innately, like they just can. I don't know how to describe it. Some people have like this innate ability to just go, oh, here, you do this, and they're able to just juggle all those pieces. Other people don't have all that management talent innate in them, so they have to learn all those skills. And so they falter and they stumble over and over and over again. And so they grow far slower. So they don't hit 7 figures for maybe 3-4 years, maybe even 5 years. I know a lot of agency owners who have never hit 7 figures, that have been running their business for years and have been sitting at $500,000 a year for 6-7 years. That happens. And a lot of it is that is the mindset that the people have going into it. Getting to 6 figures, I think going from 0 to 6 figures, $100,000, is, a lot of people are really drawn to it. And mathematically, if you listen to the stuff that I say, $25,000 is the minimum project that you work on in the course of a year. So maybe you get paid $10,000, but then you get another $15,000 over the course of the rest of the year. But you get $25,000 from a client in a year, 4 clients. How long does it take to get 4 clients that will pay you $25,000? Well, it comes down to how hard you're willing to work and learn from all of the mistakes that are going to come along. All right. Hopefully that was helpful. Rob McDonald. Hey, brother, how you doing? Current prospect, see no value in paying for strategy. Wants to start marketing services ASAP. Says you should be able to roll out a 6-month plan in your sleep. How to make my case? Okay, 1, this person does not see you as an authority. This person does not see you as the expert, and has expectations of being able to do this, do the marketing and all this stuff, and those expectations are, as you know, completely and utterly wrong. So we've got to turn it back on them. Well, have you ever used a marketing person before? Have you ever hired a marketing agency? Have you ever done this before? And if they say yes, then you go, okay, were they able to just make up magic and solve all your marketing problems? And he'll say yes or no. If he says yes, then you say, okay, then where are you working with them? Right? Because if they were able to do that, you should still be working with them. And then they have to be able to answer, well, why aren't you working with them anymore? If they say, well, no, they weren't able to do that, that's why I'm talking to you. It's like, okay, so maybe you need to not try to hire marketing magicians and actually hire marketing strategists. Maybe we should, take a different path. Another way is ask, do you have any employees? Like, have you ever hired an employee? Did you just hire an employee and say, there's your desk, have at it? Or did you guide them and work with them so that they became a valuable part of your team? And almost everyone is going to say, yes, I do that. Even if they don't, they're going to say that. So they're going to say, yeah, I do that. Okay, great. Well, for me to be a valuable part of your team, we've got to work together. You can't just show me the desk and tell me to do magic. I have to know details about your business. I have to get involved in your business to be able to give you exactly what you need. Does that make sense? Cool. Hopefully you can use some variation of that tactic, because you've got to get them to understand that you're not being defensive. You're not making something up. You're trying to do something in their best interest, and the thing that they're demanding will actually lose them money. And if you can get them to realize that, because if you just told them, that's going to lose you money, we can't do it that way, then all they're just going to do is fight with you. You cannot get into a confrontation with them. So you get them to think about it and admit that, oh yeah, this is kind of actually a bad plan. I would never do this in any other aspect of my life. Why would I do this with marketing, where I'm going to be spending a lot of money? That would be a terrible idea. So, okay, Rob, let's start off with a strategy then. Cool. All right. Chris, sometimes I find that some clients don't respect or perceive the amount of time it takes to develop some websites. So like you said, the client thinks it takes 15 minutes while it may take longer. Again, this is something about authority. Like I said with Rob, is if you're the authority for what they're trying to have solved, that could be you're just an amazing designer. You're a great developer, you've got great conversion skills, or something. Like there's something about what you do that you're amazing, and that's why they came to you. Well, then they work on your process, and you demand that they work on your process. And you have to have a process, right? You've got to have a process, and it's got to be definable, and they've got to be able to follow along. If they can't follow along with your process, then you don't have a process. So getting them to understand the process and agreeing to it up front really helps with that. But then some people are just not a fit. They're not sophisticated enough to be your client, and you shouldn't take them. You should say, okay, if that's what you're looking for, here's another vendor who can do that for you. Cool? All right. Man, I should have taken an allergy pill. So like I've got allergies starting to kick in. So hopefully I don't like have a coughing fit or something on here. That would just not be no bueno. All right, Stellar Sarah. Yes, Chris, one client. Can you set up shop ads on Google real quick? Yeah, when you don't have a shop on your website yet? No, but yes, I can. It just takes time. Thank you, Tim. Give them timelines, updates, over communicate. That is the answer. That is the answer to most client issues. Dredgy, amazing. Thank you for your time. You take to answer. Yes, it was helpful. Good. I'm glad people are getting some value out of this and getting their questions answered. And if you are getting value out of this, come on, hit that like button. I've only got 11 likes. I got to be worth at least 12 likes. Come on, make me beg. Or as the cool kids say on the interwebs, smash that like button. All right, I'm not one of the cool kids. So, all right, getting back into the types. Okay, so one of the client types that we want to handle quickly is somebody I call Badmouth Bob. So for those who are not familiar with American idioms, badmouthing is saying bad things about other people. And so Badmouth Bob says bad things about you and your service or your company to everybody except to you, or says really bad things about your team members to you. And we don't want that kind of person in our business because they're just toxic. There's no way to ever make them happy. They're just finding things to just complain about. They're a complainer, and we don't want them as. There's no real way of ever fixing that kind of personality. So you might not even know that they're a complainer when you take them on as a client. You may find out when you see a review, a Google review or a Yelp review or a Facebook review that says, oh yeah, they do okay work, but, and then they say like some horrendous things about you. And then you're like, oh wow, never knew Bob felt this way. And a lot of this comes from not, as I said earlier, over communicating. You need to over communicate and be able, because Bob is bad mouthing you, not because anything actually bad is happening. Bob could be getting stellar work from you, but Bob's going to say all these bad things because Bob feels ignored. Bob feels like you just don't pay enough attention to him, and you've got to pay more attention to him. You've got to put more time into the client success of a relationship. You've got to spend more time with that client so that he feels like, oh, I'm getting the value that I'm after. Because the funny thing is, you'll see this where gurus will say, all you have to do is get somebody great results. Just get them great results and they will always stay with you. They don't. Most people don't care about the results. They need them. They need to exist. But the thing that they drop you for is not getting them the results or not getting them the results. The thing that they drop you for is feeling ignored. They feel like they're not special, like they're not getting value, whatever value means to them. It's like you think the value is all the results that you're getting them, and they think the value, that's just the norm. That's just what you have to do for being in your business. So they don't even see those results as something special. What they want is special attention. And so the bad-mouthing Bobs of the world, those people are looking for special attention. I don't think you should keep them. I think you should over-communicate. I think you should have solid processes, but you don't keep complainers, because it will drag down your morale. It'll drag down your team's morale, and they're not going to want to work on that client, which means they'll start doing subpar work on that client. And we already know that that client's willing to go out and say bad things about you already. So we don't want to get in a position where we just start ignoring that person and like, I'm just not going to answer that email. I'm just not going to do something on this project because Bob's so annoying. You want to make sure you do not have that infecting your company. It will be hazardous. It may take 3 years for hazard to show up. Like a cancer, it just sits there and grows, and then one day you're losing staff like nobody's business. And you're like, what happened? It's like everybody had become demoralized because you had a dozen Bobs always demanding special attention and complaining constantly. So if you find those kind of people, you need to remove them from your business. And the reason, and in the theme of this live stream is that dealing with these nightmare clients and making more money. By getting rid of these bad clients, you make more money because you don't lose efficiency from your team, because your team does great work because they like the clients they're working with. And then it opens you up for more opportunity where somebody's not demanding special attention, demanding extra time, and loves what you do. Like, getting great clients is actually extremely profitable. Having any client tends to cause agencies to become less than profitable. That makes sense? All right, let's get back into the comments. Let's see, what do we got here? Do we have any new ones? Chris is popping in. Is there a tactful way to use a questionnaire or ways to discover if a client is going to be a pain or not? Sort of. This is what the discovery call is about. When you're in your discovery call, you really want to just get to know who they are and find out what they're after. So if they are, as Rob says, was asking about if they pop in with, just do magic for me, well, they're going to be a pain because there's absolutely no way to do magic for them, and their expectations will never be met. So even if you miraculously do something amazing for them, they'll be not good enough. You should do better, Rob. Rob, why don't you do better, right? Because there was no real expectation set. There was no interaction in the business. So you can start getting these red flags. They start popping up and when you're having conversations. And sometimes it's just a gut feeling when you're talking to them. Like sometimes I'm talking to somebody and I'm like, I think this one might be a bad client. And I know that's not what you're looking for, like specific questions, but most of the time it's about a feeling. How do you feel? But that takes experience. You got to have years of experience to get that feeling like, oh, this one's something off. Unless you're just really good with people. I'm not. But if you're really good with people and you can just sense like something's off about this relationship. But the other things are when you start laying out what I call the 3 Ps: your procedures, your processes, and your policies. When you start laying those out in the beginning, if that person starts pushing back on mundane things, like, oh, we have a process, a 5-phase process for doing websites. Like, I think you should do it in 3 phases. Why can't we just skip the 1 phase and go to the other phase, right? It might be a legitimate question, so you answer that. But if they're still pushing back after you've given them a great answer, then maybe they're not going to respect the rest of the process. If they won't respect one part of the process, they don't find that it's valuable, even after you have a conversation as to why it's important, and they still won't respect it, they're probably not going to respect other parts of your of the project. But then a question you can ask is when you start asking about who did they work with before, who did your website before, and what did you like about the website you got, and what didn't you like? Because sometimes in asking those questions, you can find out, are they going to say something bad about the person who did the website before? Because then it's like, that person's probably going to say something bad about me, no matter what I do. So you can start finding these red flags just by asking about what happened in the past and what they're trying to accomplish. And if they're vague, and which may mean that they're not a bad client, like a bad person, they're just vague and they don't really know what they want. And with the design, you've probably experienced this before, where people are like, you just design something for me because you're the expert. I'm like, that's going to be a bad client. Like straight up, that one's for sure. The other is for websites. Okay, what about content? What about the content? What about copywriting? What about photography? What about videos? And they're like, take care of all that. I'm like, are you sure? Because we can handle all the design and the writing and we can get it perfect. And they say, no, we're going to do it ourselves. You're probably going to have some headaches because clients never deliver content. So as you get more experience in this, you'll start knowing like what kinds of people aren't a fit for your service. Because see, if you were in the web design on the low end, well, you're going to have nothing but unsophisticated buyers. They're not going to know anything. And they just want something easy and push button, and they just pay you money and you do great work, right? Or mediocre work, or even just taking a template and customizing it slightly for them. And they pay their $500 or they pay $2,000 or whatever, and then they're gone. Like, if you're on that low end of the market, well, then you're going to have unsophisticated people, and you're going to have things that would be a red flag on higher ends that are just standard procedure for that end of the business. I'm not sure if that made sense. Hopefully it was helpful. Okay, we're at the end of those questions. We are at 47 minutes. Anyone have any final questions that they would like to ask? And if not, then I really appreciate you all coming here. Anyone, I'll give it a few more seconds so people can actually type in a question. And while you're here, hit that like button. All right, everybody. I really appreciate it. Thank you for coming on. Hopefully you got some value out of this and learned about the ways of handling some nightmare clients, and hopefully you will not have nightmare clients. So for everyone who's still on or watching the replay, come on over if you are a solopreneur, a freelancer, or a small agency owner. Join my group, Nimble Group, over on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/Nimble Group, and apply. And I will start going through applications this weekend and letting people in, because we're going to be kicking off, because that's step one of day one of my 100-day challenge for myself. So thank you all for coming, and I will see you soon. Season 3 is coming up soon for this channel. That's I will actually start shooting real videos, real training videos for YouTube again. So stay tuned. See you guys later. Bye.